Okay, in this part of the surface area video, I'm going to show you how to find the surface area of some other prisms. Like I said, a triangular prism and a trapezoidal prism specifically. So to do that, I'm going to show you a couple examples. You're going to first find the area of all of the bases and faces of the figure, and then you're going to add them together to get the total surface area. So if you take a look at this first example, again, if you have your notes, this is the next example on your notes. You can copy this down. We're going to take a look at this triangular prism, and we're going to find the area of every single base and face and then add them together. So I'm actually going to start with this triangle right here. That's the base. Again, the base is not necessarily what it's sitting on. The base is what gives the shape its unique name. So the triangular prism, the base is always the triangle. So I'm going to start by finding the area of this triangle. Go back. Okay, so I like to just kind of draw the shape that I'm finding the area of so I know what I've done and I can keep track of my work. So first I'm going to draw the triangle, and then I'm going to write the formula that I'm going to use. So 1/2 times the base is 4 times the height is 3. Half of 4 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6 square feet. So that's the area of this triangle right here on the front. Now, if you remember from the original video a couple days ago about prisms and pyramids, a prism has two bases that are identical, the exact same. So if you look at the back of this shape, you will see another triangle that's actually exactly the same as this triangle that we just found the area of, the one on the front. So you can write it again, the exact same thing. So we have another triangle in the back, 1/2 base times height, 1/2 times 4 times 3, and again that's 6 square feet. Another option is you can just take your answer from the first triangle and double it to get 12. Here we have 6 and 6, which we'll add together at the end, but that still gives us 12. Okay, so far we found the area of the two bases, the two triangles. They're always going to be identical because it's a prism, and prisms always have identical bases. So that makes it nice and easy. Whenever you find one base, you automatically know the other base. All right, so then what we have to do next is we have to look at the rectangles that are the faces of this prism. So I'm going to highlight them as best I can. That gets a little bit tricky because, like I said before a couple times, this is a three-dimensional object on a flat two-dimensional screen, so it gets hard to see. So I'm going to start with this rectangle, the one that is slanted on the kind of like the slide part, if you want to call it that. So a rectangle is base times height. You could do length times width. Those are the same. So 7 times 5, and that's 35 square feet for that rectangle. Okay, we have two more rectangles in this drawing. Now they get harder to see, so I'm actually going to highlight them in different colors. We've got this rectangle that's over here on the left-hand side of the prism. You can see that. So that's another rectangle. Nice and easy, base times height or length times width. This is going to be 7 down here times 3. So 7 times 3 is 21 square feet. And then we have one more rectangle. Let me use yellow. Actually, that's kind of hard to see. I'm going to use the magenta. The last one is going to be the bottom rectangle. So I'm highlighting it in this purpley, magenta, pink kind of color. You can see. And that's another rectangle. And this rectangle is 4 by 7. So that's base times height, 4 times 7, and that's 28 square feet. Okay, once you have successfully found the area of all of the faces and bases, then the last thing you need to do is add them all up. 6 plus 6 plus 35 plus 21 plus 28, and if you do that, you should get a total surface area of 96 square feet. Okay, I'm going to show you another prism, same strategy, different prism. So let's take a look at this prism. It's a trapezoidal prism. So the hardest part, I think, is making sure you don't miss any of the faces. So that's why I like to kind of draw and trace over as I go so I know what I've done and what I still need to do. So I'm going to start with this trapezoid on the front. So that's the hardest formula we're going to have to work with here. So that's 1/2 height, base 1 plus base 2. That's our trapezoid formula. So 1/2 times the height. The height of the trapezoid is straight up and down, perpendicular to the base. That's 5. So 1/2 times 5. Base 1 plus base 2. Okay, half of 5 is 2.5. If you, like I think I said this in the volume video, but if you want to make it a little bit easier on yourself, you maybe want to add the 5 plus 8 first to make it 13. That way you can just multiply everything together. You get 32.5, and this is centimeters squared. All right, so in the last video, I mentioned you can rewrite the formula since the front and the back are going to be the same, or you could just double it. So in the last example, I wrote it out twice. In this example, I'll show you how you can just take your answer from the first one, multiply it by 2, and then you can just write your total for both trapezoids rather than writing it out separately. So that's another option for you. Since these two trapezoids, the one on the front and the one on the back, are exactly the same, all you have to do is double it. So that saves you a little bit of writing if you want to do it that way. Okay, so now we're going to work on the faces. The faces of the prisms are always going to be rectangles. So let's start with this one on the top here. So this is a rectangle, 5 by 6.3. So we're going to do rectangle base times height. That's 5 times 6.3, which gives us an area of 31.5 centimeters squared. We switch colors. Let's use red, and we'll do this one on the side. So we'll do this 5 by 6.3. You can see that one's on that kind of like the left side. Actually, let me do this before. This might make it a little bit easier. If I erase the ones I've done already, maybe you can see it a little bit better. How about that? There we go. Okay, so let's do another rectangle. So this one actually ends up being the same as the one we just did. It's hard to see that these two are the same at first. So if you didn't notice it, like I would just do them separately, and then we'll just add them together at the end. All right, so we did that one on the side. Let's move on to the one on the bottom. Let's use this color. So we've got this one on the bottom. This is an 8 by 6.3 rectangle. So this is a rectangle, base times height. You don't have to draw the rectangle there. I just like to do it because, like I said before, it helps me remember what shape I'm doing, but you don't have to do that. Definitely write the formula down. I know that some of the formulas are easier than others, but it's always helpful to write the formula down before you start. All right, and then we have one more. Let me erase this one so you guys can see. I'm going to have to do this one in yellow, and it's this final slanted rectangle here on the side. So that is, again, a rectangle, base times height, and this one is 5.8 times 6.3, and that's 36.54. Okay, so one way that you can double check to make sure you got everything and you didn't miss any faces is if you look at the number of sides that your base has. So it's trapezoid, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. That means you should have 4 faces, rectangles, to find the area of. So if you look back in our last example, our base was a triangle. We only found the area of 3 rectangles. That's because a triangle has 3 sides. A trapezoid has 4 sides, so we have 4 faces here. Okay, and then our last step is to add all these together. 65 plus 31.5 plus 31.5 plus 50.4 plus 36.54, and that is a final surface area of 214.94 centimeters squared. Okay, and that's the last example for surface area.